Hi everybody! So I noticed that lately my YouTube video, I noticed that the luster one is getting picked up in the algorithm over and over and over again for some reason. And I feel bad because when people are watching that video, I feel like they're going to learn how to luster. And unfortunately that video doesn't really explain how to and all the things, the necessary steps, the necessary tools that you need to be able to luster. So I'm actually going to explain that in this video because it can be unsafe if you don't do it right. So I just feel so bad when people find the other video and they think they're going to learn how to luster by just watching that video. And unfortunately it doesn't actually explain a lot of the processes and things that you need for lustering. I will say lustering is very expensive. It's not something that I would suggest somebody get into unless they were doing it for a while, like have been doing pottery for a while, know a lot about it. It's kind of more of a intermediate to advanced kind of pottery technique. And yeah, so I do want to say that off the bat, that if you're like new to the pottery or, you know, don't have the ability to have control over your firing schedules or, you know, don't have a properly ventilated space and the tools that you need, that I don't recommend doing lustering. Which it's kind of hard because it is really fun. And the results are just so worth all the effort that you do. But unfortunately, I do want to kind of make that note. So if it's something you're looking into, it might be something you have to work up towards. Like I did pottery for a good 3 or 4 years before I got into the lustering, just because there's so much you need to know about it. That being said, let's get into how to luster. Hi everybody, future Annie here. There was a few things that I forgot to mention in the video, so I'm just gonna, you know, fix it in post. So first I wanted to talk about what lusters are. I realized that wasn't in the video. So lusters are basically an overglaze that goes over your glazes. So, you know, when you do the process, you know, you throw the piece, you trim it, you put handles on it. You can use underglazes if you want, but then you go to biscuit, and after you biscuit, then is when you put the glaze on and do a glaze fire, right? After you do all of that and you have your final glaze, then you can add overglazes, which can be like China paints and stuff like that too. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going over lusters. So white gold, silver, gold, and mother of pearl is what I'll be covering in this video. And like I said, they're just an extra added process after you're done with the glazing and everything. You will apply the lusters, fire it again at a really much lower temperature, and then you kind of get the golden stuff on the pieces. I did want to say, to kind of avoid this video being way too long, I actually do have a video where I go over the tools that I use for luster. So I will link that below, link that here, so that you can find that video and find out like what all you need. First, watch that, and then this video is mostly talking about like the whole process and what I do to do the lusters and how I get them to turn out the way I do. I will say I do highly recommend gloves. You will notice in this video that I am not wearing gloves because I had a heck of a time trying to find them. Because I could only really find powdered ones, and do not recommend powdered ones with doing the luster. I've done it before and it is very hard not to contaminate your lusters when you have powdered gloves. So I am not actually using gloves, but please do. I have been doing lustering for a little bit, so I do have a little bit of practice with not getting it on myself, but I probably should have wore gloves. I just couldn't find any. So and that's kind of another tip. I usually immediately go to the alcohol, you know, put some on a paper towel and kind of like rub it off my hand to try to wash it off, because using typical soap and water doesn't really work very well with the lusters, and they will still be on your hand. So I have found though that if I do have a paper towel with a little bit of the rubbing alcohol on it and stick that on my hand, that the lusters come off a lot easier. So keep that in mind when you're doing your lustering. Let's show you the setup. So I'm going to turn this camera around. Like I said, you want to keep all the stuff separate. So like when I was kind of talking about the tools, I talked about having a separate bowl and a separate brush for each of the lusters. So this is my luster bowl and brush for my gold. This is the bowl and brush for my silver white gold. These are the brushes and the bowl for the mother of pearl. So you can see you don't really need a very big bowl. These are actually probably a little too big. Honestly, you could even go smaller than this. I usually just use rejects and stuff that didn't quite make it through the process, or I didn't enjoy the colors enough, or they just didn't sell. So I just kind of use like pottery rejects for my bowls, for my lusters. So like I said though, you do want to keep them separate. So this bowl right here will always be my gold luster bowl. So here are the pieces that I plan on lustering. And so it's very important to prep these pieces before you actually do your lustering. So I'm actually going to take alcohol and a paper towel or rag and just wipe them all down to make sure I get all the extra glaze or dust or whatever might have accumulated on them. I'm going to do that and kind of wipe them all down to make sure that they're ready to go. And then by the time I've wiped down, you know, all of the pieces, the first one's dry enough for me to begin to luster. And so even though I have all my gold, my silver, my mother of pearl out right now, I really only do them one at a time. So what's probably going to happen is I will mother of pearl the pieces that need that first. Then I will probably do the gold. I only have, I think, one piece that needs the gold, which is this guy right here. We're actually going to be lustering the sun. After I do the mother of pearl, I'll probably do the gold. And then I will save the silver for last. And most of these pieces, like these 3 mugs, are going to be getting the silver. Some of these little tea strainer charms are going to be getting silver. Like it's just a rubbing alcohol. I got this one at Rite Aid. And we're just going to wet the paper towel a bit, like this. And just make sure to wipe down all the pieces. You don't have to wipe like all the inside and the outside and stuff like that. Just wipe where you're going to put the luster. So this one, because I am going to be lustering the majority of it, I'm going to cover the whole thing and kind of just get all of that extra dust and stuff that might have accumulated on it off.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air.
Got my face mask on and I'm ready to go. So the rest of this video is going to be me doing a voiceover. It's just too hard to hear me over the heater and with the face mask on. So right here I am putting essence in a jar. Alternatively, you can use lavender oil if you have it. And it's mostly going to be used for cleaning the brushes. So every once in a while when you're applying it, you know, if you've applied a lot of gold or something, it'll get kind of gunky. I usually clean my brushes right off the bat before I even put the lusters on them and before I even start the process. I'll give them a good rinse. So right here I am using Dunkin's Premium Gold, and so it kind of has a red color to it before it gets fired, and then it will fire gold. All that liquid will burn off. And so here I'm just being very careful, very gently painting it on. And if I noticed that I'm getting a lot of buildup on my brush, or you know, I'm getting a lot of bubbles, I'll usually try to rinse it out. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that I do them one at a time. So I will start with the gold, do everything that needs to be done with the gold, and then I will clean up the gold before I take out another luster, like the mother of pearl or the silver. So right here I am just taking the leftover essence and cleaning out everything before I start the silver. So you want to make sure that you clean them after each use so that it keeps your lusters from getting contaminated and just keeps them safe. Even though I do use separate bowls and brushes for each of them, I do make sure I clean them after each use just to make sure I keep everything in well working order. Especially the brushes, because they will go bad the more you use them in the luster, and so this kind of saves them a little bit so I don't have to replace them as often. So here again, I'm just doing the Duncan white gold, I believe they call it, but it basically comes out silver. So I'm just carefully applying it. With the silver white gold, I've noticed that it actually tends to run a lot more than the gold does. Same with the mother of pearl. Those lusters tend to be a little bit more runny. So I do have to be careful to make sure that, one, I'm cleaning out my brushes frequently with those two particular lusters, and two, that I am being very careful to not put too much luster on the piece. And so here again, I'm just making sure to clean up after having used my silver lusters. And here are all of the pieces that have been mother of pearled, had white gold added to them, or have had the gold added to them.
Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now, there's something in the air, and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh, dreamy, breezy, we go easy, easy on our tiptoe.
Hi everybody. So as you can see, I got some marks, mask marks on my face. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video, or you know, learned something. I hope some of the tips and tricks that I taught you, you know, helped with learning how to luster. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.